A bag full of stories, it's all I have got. But I'm not unhappy, oh no I am not.
Oh, hi there. You might have noticed it, but my backpack is pretty shit. It has a lot of holes in it. The zips are broken, it's pretty rubbish, so it's time to repair it.
Okay, so a bit of a backstory. This bag was bought by my mum many years ago. She was very pleased with it until one day I loaned it. Long term. That was over a decade ago. Since then, I've been around the world with this backpack, and it shows. The bag is completely worn down. So in order to honor my mom's sacrifice, I feel like I need to repair this bag so that her involuntary gift will live on, and she won't hold a grudge over me for stealing and destroying her backpack. But destroying this backpack I must. Controlled destruction, that is. Because by carefully unpicking every seam, I get a good understanding of the construction of this backpack. It's very helpful, and I found myself revisiting this footage quite often during the construction of the new bag, just to see how certain seams came together and stuff like that. And that's also how I found out that some parts of this bag consist of more than 8 layers of fabric. Hopefully, my poor little sewing machine will be able to handle that.
But before we get into all of those challenges, let's discuss the design. Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Make a design before you start? Well, to be completely honest, I didn't really do this. I just started sewing with a vague idea in my head and an unhealthy amount of confidence in my ability to figure things out as I would go along. I started off by copying the outline of the hip pockets of the original bag. But because they were quite tiny and didn't really fit much, I decided to enlarge them. Everything was going very well, the sewing was pleasant and I was vibing to some One Direction bangers. I even called my girlfriend into the room to proudly show the result, which received an approving
"Very good."
But then disaster struck.
Oh no! Oh no!
I had imagined that the hip pockets would be extended all the way to the front of my hips, just like this other backpack that I own. I didn't really understand what went wrong, because I attached them at exactly the same spot as before, so apart from the bigger size, everything was completely the same. Then I went back into some old pictures and realized that the original hip pockets were in exactly the same awkward position. So instead of blaming myself, I could now blame the designers of the original backpack. Excellent. After finishing the hip pockets, I went on to work on the shoulder straps. Again, I just copied the general shape of these from the original design. The only difference here is that I added some stretch pockets to them. The most challenging parts of these straps was stopping the fabric from fraying and completely unraveling. I did this by applying what I would like to call the hillbilly serger. Just ramming a zigzag stitch into the side of the fabric in the hope that it will keep everything together. It looked like absolute dog shit, but at least it seemed to hold everything together. And once everything is turned inside out, nobody can see it anyway, so I was fine with it. With the hip pockets and the shoulder straps finished, it's now finally time to start thinking about the main compartment of the bag. My plan is to make a simple square bag. The side panels will have large mesh pockets to fit water bottles and hiking poles. I couldn't fit hiking poles in the previous bag because the mesh pockets were too shallow. So for this new design, I've added some elastics that will help them stay close to the bag. On the front panel, I'll add elastic as well. For the top of the bag, I thought a simple roll top mechanism would be perfect. Am I a big fan of roll tops? No, not particularly. But unfortunately, I was running into a bit of time pressure at this point in the project. You see, I had an early morning flight to catch to the Netherlands to celebrate my parents' anniversary, so a simple roll top would have to do. Because that's certainly something I would be able to finish in time, right? Right? One last thing about the bag design. I'm planning to make the front panel out of waxed canvas. And here's a scoop for you. I'm planning to wax the canvas myself. So, let's go fabric shopping.
I was shopping for a suit the other day and walked into the department store. Stepped on the elevator and told the girl, dry goods flow.
I love fabric shops. It's very inspiring to be surrounded by all of these fabrics. It's a great feast for the eyes and for the ears. I ended up settling for this lovely olive green duck canvas, and it cost me just about 9 leva and 60 stotinki for 2 meters, so a great price.
Now, I've never really waxed any fabrics before, but I found a couple of YouTube tutorials to guide me through this process. They used a couple of different ingredients in these videos, the most intriguing one of which was beeswax. You see, I'm living in Bulgaria at the moment, a country that is famous for beekeeping and honey making, and thus also making beeswax.
So let me go to the Zhenski Bazaar here in Sofia to find some beeswax. Now, despite the best efforts of my Bulgarian teacher, my mastery of the language is still very minimal. So I had to put in a last-minute Google Translate request to find out how to say beeswax in Bulgarian.
Fosok, I think.
And then I tried my luck with this honey salesman. With the beeswax acquired, I decided to set up a small experiment. I created 6 small samples, after which I heated up some beeswax, some paraffin and some linseed oil in 6 different configurations. I applied the different formulas and then let them dry for a bit. Then I poured some water on them to test the waterproofing. I left them for 18 hours, and when I came back to check on them, no water had leaked through any of the samples, which was great. The next step was to check the feel of the fabric. Here I learned that all the samples with paraffin were rather stiff and they got these ugly white lines when I rolled them up. The beeswax felt much more natural, but the winner ended up being a combination of beeswax with a bit of linseed oil. This sample looked and felt the most natural and smooth. And then it was just a matter of applying this winning formula to the fabric of the front panel and letting it dry for a while. I'm saying that as if I was not in a terrible hurry at this moment. The clock had really started ticking by now. I was approaching the end of the final day before my morning flight to the Netherlands.
So I quickly made some mesh pockets, but time pressure was getting to me and I kept breaking needles. It was then that I was struck by a big mystery. I think I killed already, I've broken 3 needles. Now my question to all of you, I don't know if someone knows this, but where do the needle tips go and should I get them out? How do I get them out? I'm a bit confused about this. But I didn't have a lot of time to be confused because I had to turn this piece of cotton into a laptop sleeve for the bag.
Fortunately, sewing the actual bag was pretty straightforward. It's just straight seams all along the length. Well, no, it turns out that there was still many different buckles and straps that I had not installed yet. And of course there was the bias binding that I needed to install on the inside. And let's not forget the entire roll top mechanism that I had not worked on at all. And that's how I found myself in this situation. It's currently 3:30 in the morning and here I am hand stitching this one of the final buckles to the bag. Saying one of the final ones because there's still a lot of things I need to do. Now I'm just focusing on the hardware so that I can actually wear the backpack on the plane. And fortunately I did manage to make it functional for the plane. Yippee! It was still a bit fragile, that's why I'm holding it like a little baby here. When I was in the Netherlands, I locked myself into the little room and used my mom's sewing machine to install the bias binding and finish the roll top mechanism. Then I tried to put this metal frame back into the bag for some rigidity, which seemed impossible without the help of my dad. Together we managed to shove the metal into position and now the bag was finally finished. Now all that remained is asking my mum for her opinion on the bag. So mum, what do you think of the bag?
So we're in the Lepenica cave here in northwest Bulgaria, close to Belogradchik. And I just want to show you the bag. I've been using it now for a couple of weeks and I got a lot of reflection points. First of all, actually, these little mesh pockets, big fan, really handy for storage. What I don't like is I messed up with this buckle a bit. As you can see, I had to hand stitch it, which looked really ugly. It fell out, whereas this one is nicely made into the seam. Another thing I don't like is I just went for a standard square shape, which makes the bottom really saggy and weak. So for any next iteration, I would make no bottom, but the front I would just attach it to this point, so you get an aerodynamic shape like this. Not a big fan of roll top, as I discussed before. It just
makes everything so slowly accessible. I am, however, a big fan of the wax canvas. This is one of my favorite outcomes of this experiment. It's a very nice fabric, hardy, it gets a lovely wear and tear on it, but when it's hot and the sun is on it, it also becomes completely like a fresh canvas again. So that's lovely. Then the final point is I made the bag sort of match here at this point, whereas I should have matched it here. I wasn't entirely sure how to do this at that point, so I thought I will fix it later, which I did with these snap buttons. But it's definitely an inferior solution, because if there's nothing in the bag, you get this ugly sort of sag in it, and I just don't like that. And that really is the bag.
Thanks for watching me make this bag. It's not the perfect bag, but it's not the worst. I enjoyed making the bag, and I enjoy using the bag. I will probably make a better bag in the future. That future bag will have to thank this bag for giving birth to its existence.